put it on me and got me feeling like this.
Give me what you got for me, don't bother.
This is my favorite song. Can't do anything you want and I won't resist.
Give me what you got for me, don't bother. Give me
you can pin me on this pole, make your body be the control. If the music stop, take a little wine on this spot. Look me in my face when you're giving me plenty ways. Maybe show them how we just got the place.
Party bad, bad, party bad, real bad, party bad, bad, bad. Yeah. From my rich inside the session, I drunk already. I see a sexy girl, I want to walk already. I drink about 10 buckle of rum already. I don't take a selfie, Instagram already. I'm moving like a madman. Whoa, it's problems in this session. Whoa, give me space like a pedestrian. Whoa, and please don't ask no question. Whoa, more rum, no water. Party getting hotter. All them girls well looking good. I come to deal with the matter. Sick, no doctor. Mash up the dance like tractor. Betting is my religion. DJ is the pastor. Just give me rum, a bucket or a drum. All on the ground. Them woman whining down. Mass in the place. She whining in me face. Don't take it wrong. It's so we don't get wrong.
Straight off the jumbo jet. 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 Straight from the airport, straight in the fit. Straight off the jumbo jet. Straight off the jumbo jet. Straight off the jumbo jet.
Coming for more, boom. When you see we clear out the way.
Kaboom! It's restricted zone.
When you see we clear out the way. Alright. When you see me in the band, leave me alone. When you see me in the bed, leave me alone. Alcohol in me on, leave me alone. When you see me in the band, leave me alone. Alright now, like a Baptist we coming down. We beating drum and we hacking dumb. Don't come around cause you know we dumb. I don't care what they say, pushing you don't want you in my way. I'm a real madman, I can't change my way. Real madman, I can't change my way. Fellas, if your girlfriend pass no disrespect about touchy. I that kind of stupid job, no other job no bad like that. I see, I'm mad. You black and ugly, you black and ugly. When you see we clear out the way. When you see we clear out the way. Alright. When you see me in the band, leave me alone. When you see me in the bed, leave me alone. Alcohol in me on, leave me alone. When you see me in the band, leave me alone. Alright.
If you take a knife and you cut my skin, I show you go see we share the same blood. Yeah, all of we coming from different ends. Look deep in your history, we from the same cloth. Don't tell me about you more blessed than me. Take away everything and then tell me who you be. Take a drink with me. It don't matter where you're from, all of we is one. Put up your hand because we is more than friends. Jump up, we is more than friends. Man, precious and gold and gem. We tight like a wedding ring. I said we is more than friends. All of we is more than friends. Together like ink and pen. We closer than 9 and 10. All of we is day one. We set it since day one. From night till the day come. We under the same sun. Jump up with your day one. Go up, be afraid, come. We all in the same jump.
Turn up the mic. When I say I'm fed up with heart, all you feel is joke I'm making. I don't want to hate on love, but sometimes I keep debating. She say she only lover, she only friend. We make a wish, now eat with pen. I sleep and I had a dream, wake up and I make a vow. Soon as everything complete, we saw one out. What I do wrong again, lad? Tell me what I do wrong again. People calling me name, lad. They say I get hard again. The bush a cut it, the garden a fuck it, put the goods in a bucket. But the girl she keep on complaining. When I do it, they say put your back into it. All I know I try, him calling with another guy. What I do wrong again, lad? Tell me what I do wrong again. People calling me name, lad. They say I get hard again. I buy she chocolate, I buy she rose. I push she out, I take she back, I pick up the clothes. I never leave her, but people tell me she hot. And now she find a man and she telling me she done. What I do wrong again, lad? Tell me what I do wrong again. People calling me name, lad. They say I get hard again. So when I there,
Rowley, a dog. Low high the crime rate is in the country now, boy. Forest, come down, come down. Input, come down, come down. UNC, in tongue, in tongue, in tongue, in tongue, in tongue. I don't want to leave you on top the horse. I need you to come down here for me now. You're claiming PNM them is boss, but look how high the crime rate is now. PNM feel the bright. They can win election tonight. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there, Rowley. Make me choke with that vibe. Champa, coach you them, they not nice. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there. I just want to warn you before the mixing would concern you. They went like keto and walk full. Rowley, a dog. Low high the crime rate is in the country now, boy. Rowley, a dog. Low high the crime rate is in the country now, boy. Rowley, a dog. Low high the crime rate is in the country now, boy. Forest, come down, come down. Input, come down, come down. UNC, in tongue, in tongue, in tongue, in tongue, in tongue. I don't want to leave you on top the horse. I need you to come down here for me now. You're claiming PNM them is boss, but look how high the crime rate is now. PNM feel the bright. They can win election tonight. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there, Rowley. Make me choke with that vibe. Champa, coach you them, they not nice. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there. I just want to warn you before the mixing would concern you. They went like keto and walk full for the people and them to vote you. On the IG post you look nice. A million followers, a million likes. In the grocery the food price high. Give we 2% and see we reply. That man can mama guy. You feel it too bright. Yeah, we need election tonight. Come down from there.
Yes indeed, yes indeed. Come down from there, come down from there. It is an illusion, it is an illusion. It is of course what is called, I won't even say I won't even say it is a stress scenario. I won't even say it is one where the mental state of the individual and or individuals that make up the cabinet of the country are people who have clearly have taken a deliberate and conscientious position and decision to provide con artists management to the country of Trinidad and Tobago, and we have to accept that as a pellucid, transparent and conspicuous fact. It cannot to be questioned. It cannot to be in any way. No one can deviate from that fact. It is not just, one cannot talk about post-traumatic stress. No. It is, of course, manic depressive psychosis. Manic depressive psychosis. That is what these fellas and women are suffering from. So you could go up to London. You could go to England. But let me tell you something. You could go to France. You, Rowley, and your cohorts and your criminal colleagues. It will not change the price of cocoa in Tobago. It will not change the price of cocoa in Trinidad. The fact of the matter is that you have overstayed your welcome in the office of Prime Minister, and the entire cabinet has overstayed its presence in our faces, and therefore, as far as I am concerned, they are getting a salary and perks under false pretense. They are simply the bane of the country. They are simply, of course, the destructive monolithic tsunami, political tsunami, an economic tsunami, and social tsunami, and of course, a high degree of not just mismanagement, but while they have, of course, deliberately generated that conjob from day one, from since 2015, what is more debilitating and disconcerting and destructive is that they are simply incompetent, impotent, and therefore continue, of course, to pretend through histrionics, and of course, as if there's some kind of a group of individuals that are a group committed to a kind of what I consider to be engaging in not just histrionics and theatrics, but a bunch of comedians. A bunch of comedians. It is clear that Trinidad and Tobago is being run by a group of individuals who clearly cannot find their way, ought not to have been in office in the first place. This is a idiocracy. Idiocracy. Idiocracy, yes. A bunch of idiots running the government of Trinidad and Tobago, and they continue. Imagine, as I said last week, and they continue as if they are suckers for embarrassment. They are suckers for people. Have you ever seen in any era of the management of our country at the level of government that every night, every day, members of the cabinet, and including, of course, the prime minister, is being called the most derogatory utterances that borders on defamation, and they will do nothing about it? Well, it could only be for two reasons. Two reasons. One is that it is the truth. And two is, it is the truth. Yes? And nothing but the truth. How the hell a prime minister could be called a rapist and a pedophile, and you have fellas like Hines and them, that is their leader, and have the audacity to come, and when, of course, me back turned, making all kinds of derogatory statement about me. Yeah, but he went up to Laventil. He went up to Parsons Street, where I born and grow. My what I consider to be spawning ground. My place of socialization from the earliest levels, and of course a period of my biological life on this earth, and therefore in Trinidad. And he goes up to two, of course, Pudam Lane. Yes, Hines. They tell me you're going up to Pudam Lane and making promises in Pudam Lane. Well, let me tell you something, Hines. Not only am I responsible for the Laventil Technology and Continuing Education Center, where you have plagiarized. Imagine you're plagiarizing a project. You're not good, and you're not good, but you're going up to Parsons Street in Pudam Lane. They call me, yes, and telling me the nonsense and the hogwash you talking. But your leader is a man that is every day being called a rapist and a pedophile, and you or he has done nothing about it. So the evidence is clear. But I don't want to get too personal here, because I know that Hines himself ain't know your own self, because he has a pomposity dread. Some call him, of course, a peacock, a plenty flair but no depth. and the amount of hogwash that he speaks, believing that somehow he is making sense, or people would be listening to the crap that he speaks. I mean, it is phenomenal as it is unlimited in terms of depth of stupidity. Yes, it's unfathomable. But of course, we are going to continue making certain that when 2025 comes, that these fellas be where they ought to be, and that is in the dustbin of political history in this country. Yes, we are concerned about crime. Yes, we are concerned about the economy. And to hear only recently, we played it, of course, on the last occasion, where Stuart Young goes and he says that they make all this money. Recently, Rowley said they make all this money. But our reserve has moved from 10 billion when Kamala was there to this. They're saying 6, I saying 4 billion. How you make all that money, and that is the case? And the level of stupidity that one can muster up in any single human being is what this man Young told us in the parliament. He said that before Ukraine war even started between Russia and Ukraine, they were planning for it in 2017. I mean, what kind of lunatics is operating at the level of government in this country? And I'm going to bring it for you, because I sent it, of course, to Wade Mark and Roberts today, this morning early. He sent us a pre-action. He sent me a pre-action protocol letter. He Young, saying that I calling he a drug mule and a racketeer, and that was derogatory to him, and he won $5,000 for the letter that he made somebody, his lawyer sent to me, and he wants $700,000. yes, I know, it's laughable, but it's real. That is the level of lunacy that we have. And don't get me vexed tonight before I show it up one time, you know. The man say in a pre-action protocol letter that he won $5,000 for the letter that was sent, that they charge him. And then he wants $700,000 for calling him, and of course expressing about him and characterizing him by speaking the truth. What the hell Delcy Rodriguez was doing here? What the hell? And now we know it was because all of them, once again, the entire government, the cabinet, just as how they conspired to close down Petro to save Rowley, it's the same thing happened with Delcy Rodriguez, conscious, knowing full well that the Americans are going to be annoyed. These people could have started World War III right in Piaco. Rowley and them could have started World War III right in Piaco. Suppose the Americans had gotten wind that Delcy Rodriguez was coming in here on the 27th of March of 2020. Well, 26th of March 2020. During the COVID, taking chances because they tell themselves that no country would suspect another country of having flights coming in and out of its country simply because the whole world was shut down. And so Rowley and them take advantage of that and telling us that Delcy Rodriguez, in such circumstance, asks to visit, and they may know what she coming for. You hear what I'm telling you? If there is no other evidence of the level of lunacy, the level of mental disarray, the mental of the evidence of cognitive and cerebral as well as intellectual decadence and collapse. It's that kind of statement used a government in COVID when you have the ability to talk where? Yes, on video. On video, nobody in government. In fact, why Rowley didn't go when he was asked for an interview with WHO, a webinar? Why he didn't go? Why he didn't go? Or why he didn't tell them come? Yes, understand what is happening here, man. These asses are trying to make us believe that we have to accept that level of intellectual and cognitive and common sense emaciation. I think somehow all of them, their brain got squeezed during the process of birth. You know what I say? I say that during the process of birth, it appears that all of them get their brain squeezed. I cannot understand how some big men will tell us in the office of Prime Minister, and then they go on to a different transaction, a different, not just transaction, but a different distraction. They go on to say they're going and take legal action against Anand Ramlogan and Ramdeen. These fellas, and I don't mind if they're doing it with their money. The fact is that it's double problems for Trinidad. They're already stupid. They are already lunatics. They are already a collective of nincompoops and asinine specimen of inhumanity. You know, they've gone back behind Anand Ramlogan and Ramdeen. You know, our treasury now will be stretched because I was wondering when Anand Ramlogan and Ramdeen will take action. Well, now that them stupid fellas in the office of the Attorney General, and the Attorney General is behind this, and clearly the Prime Minister had to give his approval. It is from the Attorney General's department or office. They're saying they're going to take civil action against Ramdeen and Anand Ramlogan. For what? They want to get back all the money that the state paid to Anand Ramlogan as Attorney General. I say to them, they should voluntarily, because it is by false pretense, they have been and are being paid, and therefore all of them should give back all the monies to the people of Trinidad and Tobago for their misconduct and their inability to manage the affairs of the country, and therefore all of them should be, of course, voluntarily, spontaneously, and conscientiously given back the blasted money that they were paid for. They are simply cynicals. Office would pay but no work because they simply cannot make. And Rowley again goes off to London. And as we were saying last week and before that, unapologetic, as he did, of course, by talking about the population of the diplomatic center and the home of the Prime Minister officially in this country, and was upset that Kamla Prasad Bisesa had his sister living there, but he has his immediate family and extended family living at our expense. I mean, this man should be charged doubly for treason. And it is clear that their persistency in doing stupidness with our money, the level of profligacy is unprecedented. And the level of victimization and, of course, malicious conduct, utilizing the offices that they hold, the public offices, to to engage in their personal vendetta is another cog in the wheel of demonstrating not only their incompetence, but that they ought not to have been in office in the first place, and that they are getting paid by the state, you and I, taxpayers, under false pretense. Under false pretense. It is a fraud. The entire cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago today under this conman called Rowley, a rapist and a pedophile. You know, I must say that. And he is the leader of those of people who have ministerial portfolio in this country. And they could only function because of what? Because of the recognition by the people of the rule of law, whilst they break it willy-nilly, helter-skelter, and without, of course, a conscience, and, of course, recklessly and brutally. But we will get our revenge. This cannot continue indefinitely. Evil cannot prevail over good. And it means that, therefore, in the fullness of time, and with the Almighty's, of course, intervention clearly, and he has been intervening. I heard on the corridor, on the ground report yesterday, a fella talking and giving the impression that people like me are fanatics for the UNC. I want to tell that clearly, what I consider to be back of the class individual. Yes, I know that you're listening. Back of the class individual, I have no respect for your analysis. Because if you're saying that I, Lennox Smith, is a UNC fanatic, and I have, of course, demonstrated all the time arguments that you cannot even enter the debate or the discussion, far less to refute. And I have demonstrated, on the other hand, the level of decadence, the level of collapse, the level of incompetence, the level of totishness that is the PNM and their maladministration by mal individuals. And you can't understand that yet. And when I say that the PNM has not proven that the UNC is corrupt, even though up to today they are trying, of course, to bring that to the forefront, that illusion, that delusion, that phantom to the population by claiming, and that is what they do. They remind me of Goodwill. You know Goodwill, the propaganda minister of Hitler. That is what they are. All of them collectively, the propaganda minister of Adolf Hitler during the Nazis' reign of terror in Germany, and extended, of course, to the world, to the point where they caused an entire world war. That is why I have no compunction to say that Rowley and they could have caused the Third World War right in Piaco when they allowed Delcy Rodriguez, knowing full well, one, that Delcy Rodriguez and Peter Vista was sanctioned by the United States. I don't know the reason. They sat in the, of course, OS conference on the matter. So you have, of course, sanctions. Delcy Rodriguez sanctioned. Peter Vesta official sanctioned. The plane itself sanctioned. Maduro has a bounty on his head for $15 million for exporting drugs into the United States. And this buffoon, Rowley and Young, comes to the parliament and beating his chest. That is a good thing. Them support Maduro because the others were supporting Guaido, the opposition leader. This man is so full of what I consider to be feces for our brain. Feces for our brain. I don't want to say shit, so I say feces for our brain. That's what he has. And giving us the impression that they were pursuing, of course, the Dragon gas deal since 2017, and it was supposed to be consummated in 2020, save for the what? For the sanctions by the Americans. Yes. Acknowledging that fact and still have the audacity, the temerity, and the mental puniness. Yeah, the mental limitations, the mental polio. Yes, the mental polio to tell us that they knew that Ukraine and Russia would have been in war, and therefore they were preparing back in 2017 to provide the world with fertilizer from Point Lisas. And that is why they were pursuing the drug and gas deal. But more significantly, and more irrationally, and more, of course, incongruently, and therefore demonstrates that these fellas are clearly a case, given the Latin expression non compos mentis, you have to say they are of unsound mind and therefore are pure and unadulterated certified lunatics. Point Lisas is emptying. Over 11 companies leave, producing the same urea and other items of that nature, utilizing natural gas as either a fuel or a raw material. But since 2017, he was preparing for the consequence of a war between Russia and Ukraine. What kind of people are there and in the parliament boasting and saying that it's a good thing they support Maduro? And they're so sour. They're so insanely and insatiably prone to consistent failure. Consistent failure. That even as we have said, even nature went against them, and even international circumstances where Trinidad and Tobago could have benefited, that too will go against them, because he remained silent on the existential fact, the existential circumstances as far as the geopolitics and the involvement and the opportunities for Trinidad and Tobago in those circumstances. You know, he totally ignored. And only yesterday, the International Court of Justice handed down a decision in favor of Guyana so that the status quo remain, and the 1899 arrangement re-ratified in 1966, and that Venezuela ought not to take any kind of action, effectively telling them, do not go through with that referendum to annex to Venezuela the Essequibo region, which belongs to Guyana at this time and has always been. He makes no mention of it, not even in passing, to say, well, you know, if that circumstance, if it's me, and I know that reality, because he went all over the world. He said he had a CNN interview. And they knew that, of course, they would be in a position if they get the dragon gas to help the world with fertilizer and therefore agricultural production, etc., etc. And the elephant in the atmosphere, the elephant in the parliament, the elephant in the room had to be, and of course, Wayne Mark, kudos to them, and of course, a very, what I consider to be sagacious and alert opposition, is telling them, well, what is the scenario? What are you preparing if Venezuela decides, because they are mobilizing to go into the Essequibo? It means there's war. If they do that, is he saying because them talking to the Americans that the Americans will say, it's all right, go ahead, Maduro, because you have a more powerful army? It's 27 million people Guyana has. Sorry, I mean, Venezuela has 27 million. Guyana has less than 100,000 people in all that space they have. All that land they have. And now that they're getting some kind of benefit from the natural resources, in that they discovered, of course, gas and oil, the neighbor, Venezuela, Maduro under pressure for its human rights violation. Trinidad and Tobago never focus on that. Going and talking to of course, a total scoundrel, a total inhumane individual, murdering and, of course, politically dismembering his own people. And Rowley has not uttered a word on that. And they must know the Americans are looking at it. And then recently, of course, other revelations came when we were speculating at the time. I'm going to bring the information for you tomorrow. I'm going to show you what we did as the ground report and as, of course, a concerned entity, where we wrote it to the Prime Minister, and therefore the titular reporting office are talking about the PS, who is supposed to be, once you are the PS for the Prime Minister, you're head of the public service, and they send back, of course, the information. And you would be amazed as to the level of ignorance, the level of what I consider to be insincerity, the level of deception, the level of dishonesty that was compiled and sent back to me as the person asking for information about Delcy Rodriguez and that visit under the Freedom of Information Act. You would be surprised. You'd be surprised. You would want to know if this public service, and if there is a kind of malaise, a kind of infection, a kind of epidemic, if not a pandemic, in the office of the Prime Minister, in the response that I would have gotten. We will read it for you tomorrow night. That is what we have. That is reality. That is what we have. That is reality. And as I said today, as a major deflection, of course, they have been losing all of the propaganda war or the propaganda overtures that they would have been making for the last couple of weeks. They now bring out, of course, Anand Ramlogan and Ramdeen. All I'm seeing, Anand Ramlogan and Ramdeen getting more rich off our money. Whilst these nincompoops and these asinine specimens of inhumanity, these wasteful lump of protoplasm. You know what I say? I say these wasteful lumps of protoplasm in office, abusing and embarrassing and rendering null and void and of no effect government and governance in this country as they breach the rule of law, as they undermine the separation of powers, and as they infiltrate for pernicious and evil reasons and objective and intent independent institutions in this country. There's too much that is readily available and for which we can reference, not to be certain or not to know of any across the globe once you are paying attention. Let me say, of course, a pleasant good night to once again to all and sundry East, West, North, Central, our friends in Tobago, and wherever you are streaming on the World Wide Web. A pleasant good day to you. Yes, the lines are open 337-6940, 337-6940, and of course the assistance with our Christmas and of course our back to school initiative, hampers, toys for children, 336-6594. 336-6594 will be, of course, the number to call. Call my assistant. We are ready night, day, anytime. My assistant is a hard-working person, and I can tell you, I gave the gender, but she is definitely the one that anybody will want for their assistant simply because she is that industrious, and her tenacity and her ability to, of course, speak genteelly and to, of course, argue her case with simplicity, and her dulcet sounding voice will attract even the most resistant listener, a talking male or female. But that being as it may, let us get, of course, to the topic tonight, because I want to continue demonstrating and making certain that the indelible conclusion that you have to draw deep in your mental and your superficial cognitive and awareness intellect, that you keep the evil that is Rowley and they very focused. Very focused. Very focused, I say. No longer must we be subjected or classified as a 9 days mentality people. No, we cannot afford it with this group of individuals that are at the helm of our affairs and getting on as though Trinidad and Tobago is their personal pala and the treasury and all the assets of the country. But of course, tonight, I want to focus on the public servants. You see, Rowley suddenly had a sense of empathy, a sense of sympathy. Yes, a sense of conscious, not just love, but self-righteous indignation for anybody who try to undermine or in any way offend the public servants. When he said that a PS, and that is how typical these fellas are, any port for a storm, a typical political kobo that will pick on any carcass, whether it have meat, stale, putrid, stench-oriented, but they will, of course, he will pick on it because he wants it to look good in such circumstance. Well, I want to tell him, get back to the labas, you blasted kobo. Get back to the labas, because a kobo is a kobo. A kobo is a kobo. You're political vulture. Because here it is. He told a big press conference, oh, we know it wasn't good enough, but those public service employees, trade unions that took the 4%. We want you to get it as quickly as possible and spend it, and of course have a good Christmas. I put in that part, of course, I'm paraphrasing because that's what he's trying to say. He's suddenly saying that he has a love for you public servants, and that he has a humane part of him, and he started to castigate, of course, throw under the bus the PS for suggesting that those public servants will not be able to get their monies for Christmas, but after Christmas. And he, of course, he targeted the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education, in fact, who has gone on holidays. I think his name is Silva, I believe it is. Can't recall it now. But he gone on holidays, and when he comes back, he has to go to a different ministry to work, because Rowley talk and exact punishment. Because he has a sudden love. A sudden love. Like some kind of epiphany. He has a sudden love. And with a eureka moment, a sudden burst of brilliance. Recognizing that there is a public service that, of course, has to be recognized, while, of course, they are assiduously working towards, of course, implementing a what? Yes, a revenue authority, a Trinidad and Tobago revenue authority. They are assiduously working towards, of course, still digging into people's single salary package by implementing property tax. But he has a love for the public servants. Let's test it tonight. Let's test it tonight. Don't forget, of course, you can call me 337-6940. But let's test it tonight. Let's test it tonight. You see, a liar has no memory. And as Manning said, show me a liar and I'll show you a thief. And I would add, show me a thief and I'll show you one that could commit murder. I could show you a murderer. He didn't go far enough when describing, of course, Rowley. And clearly, his cohorts. Look him, recently, he loved, of course, the public servants. You wouldn't believe it is the same man who said when he came into government, he had no reason for it. You wouldn't believe it is the same man who told the same public servants what Kamala Prasad Bisasa, and they didn't have time, of course, to give them their back pay. Before they came out, they went out of office with the most devastating, criminalistic, and treasonous conduct that could ever happen to a country by the same Rowley, with the so-called emails and allegations of conspiracy to kill a journalist, among other things. Yeah, same fella, same players. You won't believe. He told them in uncertain terms that if they come in wrong his office, as if he had the money in his pocket to give them, they will get their back pay, but lost the job. You know what I say? I said, Rowley said that they will lose the job if they test him for what is rightfully theirs and legally theirs, and for which they worked very hard over the years. And more than that, during COVID, I trust that not one single public servant forget. It was only because COVID and the strain, the new strains, the new variants that came out was less potent, and therefore it was established that hospitalization would have been very little with the new variant of the COVID virus that came out. And it was only that prevented Rowley from implementing his brutal and evil and wicked policy of telling civil servants, public servants, listen, your name will remain on the roster as an employee. But if you ain't vaccinate, we locking you out from the office that you might have been working for many years, and for which you are qualified, and for which he can even enter in terms of the work to be done. But he, as Prime Minister, by the stroke of a pen and by the utterance of his, I don't want to say stink mouth, because I will be repeating what Dr. in the Parliament, what Munilal said about their mouth. So I will say instead, the stench of his oral cavity. The stench of his oral cavity. That's what I will say. And I must qualify the stench. I must say the unpleasant stench of his oral cavity. Saying now and saying then, pretending that didn't happen. You must not forget when he said that you can't even stay home. If you stay home, that is not the objective. So therefore, what we will do to make sure you come to work, but you take the vaccine first, we will not pay you. So your mortgage, the transportation you have to pay to come to work or go to work, to and from, to send your children to school, to pay your light bills, to pay your increasing, of course, water rate, pay your mortgage, pay for your car, and maybe home appliances and other furnishings that you would have recently taken out from courts. He's saying that you will not have access to your own money. You will not be paid if you didn't take the vaccine. How could you forget that? I doubt you forget that. I know you're only waiting. And as I said, from Diego Martin, we must take Diego Martin west first and come straight up the corridor. We know that the central and deep south will take care of itself. But this is the corridor transformation, and we must transform ourselves by having a new attitude and therefore a different dispensation politically, in order, of course, to manage the affairs of the country so that we can live the kind of life that all of us, not only for ourselves, but for our children, our children's children, and all of the East-West corridor. But you're asking for proof. Listen to this.
You can imagine the government,
You love them now.
to deal with the 4% to pay. We know it's not the best that you look for.
Apologetic.
But get it as quickly as you can, and you use it as quickly as you can. That's an agreement, public. The Minister of Finance comes to the Parliament and tells the Parliament that he will find the money and will take steps to ensure that public servants are paid by Christmas, by December. Appears to the right, the Minister, and tell the Minister that that can't be done until next year, May. Well, they don't run this country. They never offer themselves for public service. And the cabinet will not tolerate that. Today, I heard about another one where public servants decided that a particular ministry cannot function
Sudden love
in the government office
for people
because
in
that
general.
public servant doesn't recognize the minister's authority to do that. I mean, something is very wrong, and I have asked the Attorney General for guidance so that the government could speak to the Public Service Commission. So whatever Kool-Aid they're drinking, they better understand that we are all here to serve the public. That inconvenience to the people of Tobago that occurred there or
Love
never
Tobago
to
dance now.
because all the arrangements were in place for the
14-1,
people
can't
of
take it.
Tobago to have a continuous service. And everybody who was inconvenienced by that is owed an apology from the Public Service Commission. Because these staff members are members under the Public Service Commission, and people are just taking the position that they could do whatever they please because there are no consequences. And apparently when the PNM is in office, everybody bad.
The Prime Minister says that many public sector work.
But let me say this about everybody bad. No, the coward that he is, the hollow individual that he is, the incompetent and never was ready, abusive and exploitative of the country's resources for their personal aggrandizement. We just have to look at Balize House to understand what we are talking about and the fact that he's talking hogwash, putrid, yes indeed, and latrine talk. Because his sudden love for public servants is only because he's looking for some kind of ingratiation, some kind of sympathy. Do not fall for that. Let us be clear. This man is worse than Goebbels, the, of course, propaganda minister of Hitler, you know. This man almost caused the Third World War in Piaco right here. Understand that? And he told you, public servants, this, listen to this, what he told you. And you must intensify your hate, agony, pain. Yes, and your total disrespect for such hypocrisy.
Workers could be jobless, and the government could soon have the difficult choice of paying them the arrears they're owed or not to save their bread and butter.
They're coming outside the Prime Minister's office every week and they're shouting at me in case I have it in my pocket to give them. Well, let me tell them tonight, many of you who enjoy that back pay, who's shouting for that back pay, you may get the back pay and lose your job. You may get the back pay and lose your job. Many of you may get the back pay and lose your job.
I want my money.
Yeah? That is what he said as he came in around 2016, 17 in St. Augustine. All you're fighting for all your money, hard-earned money, didn't get it because Kamala Prasad Bisasa, the UNC, was out of office. They came into office and he is giving all your gun talk for all your own money. But when was his turn to get his horse of a different color? He had a metamorphosis, and of course, he was shedding skin in terms of that position like a snake. Listen to him again.
Is owed an apology from the Public Service Commission. Because these staff members are members under the Public Service Commission, and people are just taking the position that they could do whatever they please because there are no consequences. And apparently when the PNM is in office, everybody bad.
Yes.
The Prime Minister says that many public sector workers could be jobless, and the government could soon have the difficult choice of paying them the arrears they're owed or not to save their bread and butter.
They're coming outside the Prime Minister's office every week and they're shouting at me in case I have it in my pocket to give them. Well, let me tell them tonight, many of you who enjoy that back pay, who's shouting for that back pay, you may get the back pay and lose your job. You may get the back pay and lose your job. Many of you may get the back pay and lose your job.
Tell public servants that
I want my money.
But he wants his money.
I told my lawyer to tell the parliament I want my money. I don't like my money to sleep out. I want my money.
I'd like my money, please. That's the call from the PM, who wants parliamentary authorities to pay him for the time he was suspended from the lower house.
I want my money. I want my money. Everybody who was...
You understand the molting of this man now? You understand the bifurcated discussion about the same thing? You understand the deception? And it is conscious, you know. It is so conscious that it has become idiosyncratic and therefore automatic for this man to lie about something yesterday, lie about it just now, and still come and lie about it tomorrow, you know. Giving it 3 to 4 lies on the same thing, you know. That is the man. How could we take him seriously? How could we say that you want and you will try to get and give some sympathy to this fella who clearly is reckless, brutal, inhumane, insensitive, wicked, and extremely dangerous? The existential threat to Trinidad and Tobago's democracy is Rowley and his government. There's no doubt about it. He totally forget that he was, of course, telling public servants, I go fire you, like if he could. Fire you if you're looking for your own back pay. And now he has sympathy for you and will throw a PS under the bus for you. No, it is similar to what he did for Al-Rari and for Camille Robinson Regis. He don't care about you, civil servants. You are least of the disciples, as my mother used to tell me. You are the least. He defended Al-Rari when, of course, his children was seen in a video that went viral with high-power guns. In fact, he threw the army under the bus by saying he don't want any of them to, of course, be his security detail. He said that. And in the case of Camille Robinson Regis, when everybody asking where you get the money from, how come you have money that you take from one bank, but the same money remain in the same bank that you take it from, and then, of course, you was depositing the same money in another bank, called, of course, First Citizen Bank, and because First Citizen Bank raised a red flag with respect, of course, to where you get the money from, Rowley saying that he don't want to bank in First Citizen Bank again, even though the bank is the government bank. That is the kind of evil we are talking about. Will defend once he believes, and once you have come into his space where you are making a contribution to the decadence and the evil and the wickedness and the criminal behavior and the misbehavior in public office. That is what this man is all about. So do not take for 1 minute that he has any concern about you. He wanted his money. Even though he didn't work for it, he was out of the parliament. They put him out of the parliament because of those same emails that he said nobody gave him. He concocted, and 3 years after, it turned out to be totally and absolutely false, fake, and a concoction of his wicked, pernicious, and evil, and very prolific evil imagination. That's what. So don't fall for that, public servants. That was pure theatrics and hogwash. He should be auditioning with, of course, people like our local comedians. Yeah. Larry Joseph and Tommy Joseph and them. That's where they should be. Bunch of jokers. You're going off to London?
Inconvenience by that is owed an apology.
This is them again.
From the Public Service Commission, because these staff members are members under the Public Service Commission, and people are just taking the position that they could do whatever they
Love
need,
them
but there
do
are
it
no
now.
consequences. And apparently when the PNM is in office, everybody bad. Everybody bad when the PNM is in office.
Reverse psychology.
The government workplace is going to change. It is the intention of the government come mid.
You heard what he said, people? But just in case you didn't hear that first set of phrase or that first sentence, he said the workplace in Trinidad in the public service will change. Let me play it back for you because I don't want you to say that you didn't hear and you didn't know and that I believe that, unless you're saying that I make up that.
Government's workplace is going to change. It is the intention of the government come mid-January to insist that the government's workplace would require vaccinated workers and persons who are not prepared or for reasons other than medically certified reasons, because there are people for whom the vaccination is not recommended by the healthcare giver, the doctors, and such persons will most properly be exempted. But outside of that, the government's workplace will require, if you are a government employee, that you show your vaccination status, failing which you would, if you are a government employee, that you show your vaccination status, failing which you would not be encouraged in the workplace, and if you are not in a position to come to the workplace, you would be on leave on your own, and you would be furloughed. Meaning that you will still have a job in the establishment, but you choosing not to be able to come to work under the conditions laid down, that you will then not be paid. That you will then not be paid.
You hear?
You will then not be paid.
Yes, people. That is what your Prime Minister did to you at a time when they really needed.
I want my money. I've told my lawyer to tell the Parliament, I want my money. I don't like my money to sleep out. I want my money.
I'd like my money, please. That's the call from the PM who wants parliamentary authorities to pay him for the time he was suspended from the lower house.
I want my money. I want my money.
The Prime Minister says that many public sector workers could be jobless, and the government could soon have the difficult choice of paying them the arrears they're owed or not to save their bread and butter.
They're coming outside the Prime Minister's office every week and they're shouting at me in case I have it in my pocket to give them. Well, let me tell them tonight, many of you who enjoy that back pay, who's shouting for that back pay, you may get the back pay and lose your job. You may get the back pay and lose your job.
Yeah. That is the level of the beast that we are dealing with. That's the beast we are dealing with. And we must be conscious.
The government comes to an agreement with you.
Listen to his hypocrisy.
To deal with the 4% to pay. We know it's not the best that you look for, but get it as quickly as you can and you use it as quickly as you can. That's public. The Minister of Finance comes to the Parliament and tells the Parliament that he will find the money and will take steps to ensure that public servants are paid by Christmas, by December. A PS is going to write the Minister and tell the Minister that can't be done until next year.
Throw PS below the bus.
Come mid-January to insist that the government's workplace would require vaccinated workers and persons who are not prepared or for reasons other than medically certified reasons, because there are people for whom the vaccination is not recommended by the healthcare giver.
There's a beast in human form.
Such persons will most properly be exempted. But outside of that, the government's workplace will require, if you are a government employee, that you show your vaccination status, failing which you would, if you are a government employee, that you show your vaccination status, failing which you would not be encouraged in the workplace, and if you are not in a position to come to the workplace, you would be on leave on your own, and you would be furloughed. Meaning that you will still have a job in the establishment, but you choosing not to be able to come to work under the conditions laid down, that you will then not be paid, that you will then not be paid, you will then not be paid.
Yeah, like if he relish the idea of putting public servants in pain, as he did, of course, by telling them, fight up for your money, you'll get it. You'll get it, but will lose your job. Are you here to study? Or have to study now? The time is coming when you have to make a choice and you have to make a decision as to whether you want that level of viper inside of the office of Prime Minister, or you want to have somebody who's calm, collective, reasonable, and has demonstrated a love and, of course, people-centered disposition as Prime Minister. Has nothing to do with race, has nothing to do with ethnicity, has nothing to do with color of skin, has nothing to do with texture of hair. Understand that. Listen to this viper. Yes, has nothing to do with any of them. Has to do with our own survival.
I want my money.
Listen to him.
I've told my lawyer to tell the parliament I want my money. I don't like my money to sleep out. I want my money.
I'd like my money, please. That's the call from the PM, who wants parliamentary authorities to pay him for the time he was suspended from the lower house.
I want my money. I want my money.
The Prime Minister says that many public sector workers could be jobless, and the government could soon have the difficult choice of paying them the arrears they're owed or not to save their bread and butter.
They're coming outside the Prime Minister's office every week and they're shouting at me in case I have it in my pocket to give them. Well, let me tell them tonight, many of you who enjoy that back pay, who's shouting for that back pay, you may get the back pay and lose your job. You may get the back pay and lose your job. You can imagine the government.
Shut up and get the hell out of our faces. Shut up. But I want to tell you this. Just as how he wanted his money, because he is in the office of Prime Minister, and because he loves to exhibit, or he has this proclivity, this propensity, this predilection for evil and wickedness, and to do poor people in particular, and those who he can take advantage of because he has the office. Only because of that. He takes a different position. And so, do as he say, but don't do as he do. Don't like for others that which he likes for himself. That's what this is all about. And that there is, of course, a good rationale, good reasoning, and good, of course, lessons to be learned in those morals that our elders and our parents, grandparents, etc. taught us. He don't want his money to sleep out, but he wants to take away your money. In the case of COVID, and in the case of course, the back pay that you were entitled to, you public servants, In the case of your back pay, back in 2015 when he came into office, he telling you, you're going to lose your work because the government had to pay. And that, I don't feel the man is serious, you know. Do not for 1 minute believe if you give him a next chance, he will do worse than that, because people like that, that is how they are. Similar to Hitler, Mussolini, Robert Mugabe, Maduro. All of them come from the same evil cloth to do evil to their people because they could simply do it. And don't tell me that you do not know other instances. And just in case, let me tell you one more before we go to the next one, because we had to go to Tobago. And I want to tell you that the next clip, that I have one or two obscenities, but I thought it was important to leave it in so you'll understand how Tobago feel about this government. Wasa workers in Tobago. Wasa workers in Tobago. So I'm warning you, if there are children on the live, please, of course, when I give the signal, tell them to go and give you 2 minutes before they come back into the room. But yes, he wants his money, but you must do without yours because he says so. He says so, and that's it. That's what he's saying. But I want you, of course, to look at how the people in Tobago feel and Wasa workers across there, because it's important. He's from there. And don't tell me that you don't understand that. And therefore, he's not from Diego Martin. He's not from Trinidad. Yes, we must now become what those jingoistic individuals in Germany, they call them skinheads. And there is, of course, a phobia for that as well, where people are afraid of strangers. We must become like that as far as Rowley is concerned. Never again. Never again. We cannot hide behind the gravity and the attraction, mysterious as it is, enigmatic as it is, by the people of Trinidad, to, of course, the PNM. But the people of Tobago has rejected that. He is from Tobago. He needs to get back to Tobago as well. So we say from Diego Martin West, come right up the road. There must be a revolution in this country. But I want to tell you before I put you on to how Tobagonians feel, and of course the Wasa workers feel about them. Rowley and his bunch of opportunistic political parasites. Remember, there was a company called, of course, the Education Facilities Company. I know it is not being talked about, but deliberately, simply because the minister is now looking to tell us about how much money they spend on the repairs of schools and so on. Well, that company was supposed to be repairing and constructing schools on behalf of the government. Initiated by Manning, the UNC kept it and it built, it supervised the construction, for example, of the St. Barbara's primary school, the only Baptist primary school, Shouter Baptist primary school in the country. Only one. And that company supervised the construction. A beautiful facility, architecturally, aesthetically, and of course and salubrious too, of course, and enticing for education and edification and for teacher-student relations, spacious classrooms, air condition, etc. But that company, by the time Rowley came into office, there were several companies that did work for that particular company, the Education Facilities Company, and of course, obviously, it was owing these contractors. Several of them, about 20 of them or more, went to the courts because Rowley continues with his pernicious, evil self and believing that somehow the treasury belonged to he, and of course his miscreants and his cohorts who gourmandize and who relish and who eat until they're vomiting from the treasury, believing that the treasury belongs to them and they're 1%. So about these companies decided to go to court. The court gave them judgment. The court gave them judgment. I said the court gave them judgment. You know what Rowley do? Rowley go to court and wind up the company so that these people are in a state of helter-skelter all over the place. They don't know what to do because that signals that if there's no company and there's nobody to go to and there's no office and so on, because they're winding up the company, they have no office and so on, who's going to pay them? And in the process, as you know, these people would have owed, of course, their families, people they borrowed money from, whether the bank, whether it's formal institutions or informal institutions, or a friend that contributed so that they could have gotten the money in order to, of course, complete, whether it be the renovation of a school or deal with, of course, the sewer system or the electricity or the plumbing, as the case may be, or whatever repairs that they were hired for, the hardware, etc. And probably going and wind up the company. I tell you, the man has a predilection for evil. Tamara Prasad, Mr. Samuel, have never done that, and I tell you so without fear of contradiction, and that is why I feel offended and I take umbrage to anybody telling me that I am a UNC fanatic. No, I am a pragmatist. I see it for what it is. And you cannot tell me you're going to feed me with hog food and tata and telling me that is sponge cake. Where you feel? Tell Rowley and them that. Tell Rowley and them that. Not me. I seen a call coming in. Yeah, let me get to that call. Yes. Oh boy, just a minute.
Good night.
Yeah, a pleasant good night. How are you?
Good night. Man.
Yes, man.
I see you talking about Dr. Rowley like if you're running Ponzi scheme. Because it's only Ponzi scheme that wind up like that and take your money and go, you know.
Exactly.
That
all that.
People.
Yeah, and pretend that is not so. Pretend it's not so.
He fleece all the people and them their money after they do all the work and wind up the company, so you have no liability at all.
That's right. How you could do that as a government? And what does it say for our image abroad? Who will come to invest here if a government getting on as a bandit, getting on as gangsters? This man mad. Go ahead, my friend. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
But you see that trickle-down effect? Because if you're talking about bandit and robbery and criminals, that is what they breed in here.
Sure.
Who doing all the home invasion and all these other things, a bunch of criminals, gangsters, all kind of things. You're seeing some unprecedented things that happening in this country that only you only see in a Hollywood movie. Men driving up in car, shooting you down, you're lying on the block, these fellas passing by, spraying you like if it's insecticide, they're spraying, and killing Tom, Dick and Harry Lal too. They ain't care whether they shoot some old man dead. Innocent bystander, something lab until the man get killed. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time. So you gotta go and take out here, Lennox. When you go by the insurance company, you have to take out wrongful death liability insurance now, because they could be in the wrong place at the wrong time and get shoot, and your insurance is gonna help you with that.
Well said, well said. Yeah, a new package they should be offering. Yeah, a new product.
Yeah. Wrongful death and wrong place at the wrong time death insurance. That one should be taken out now. Because I tell you, life insurance, you don't know who will be passing next in your neighborhood with a machine gun in a car and spraying you like if you're some mosquito or cockroach. This place, V-Trade had a go, you know. And then I could hear, I listening yesterday on a next frequency with these two, what I should say, boy, these two slave catchers coming out and saying that Kamala Prasad Bisesa instituted political apartheid in this country. I want to know what foolishness these two idiots talking about. And it take them 8 years to hatch out that, you know. to go study and bring about that foolish talk. 8 years to come and just talk and think Kamala Prasad is such involved in political apartheid. Them know what I mean? Under Kamala, everybody was eating something, everybody was getting something. It's the PNM practicing apartheid in this country where only the rich get richer and the poor getting poorer. Them people singing for their suffer and they're trying to catch the normal slaves who they go and vote for the PNM who have nothing else to do but to lie down in misery and bawl and say great is the PNM every day. But the normal Joe or the normal person who don't vote for no PNM, them facing the music all the way to the bank, me studying no PNM. The PNM is responsible for the decadence and the demoralization of this country, and it will continue under their tenureship. The Prime Minister is on record as saying that he wants the rich to get richer so that the poor can come up to their standard. But what standard? You see any poor people going to anything other than you see even more sanctions from this government by higher taxes and other things? Listen, this PNM have to go. They have to go. Right? Have a good night, Lennox.
Yes, man. Well said, my friend. And of course, I couldn't say it better, man. Well done. And that is reality. Right? How could you watch poor fellas? The court examined the documents and said that they are valid. How could you then turn and close down effectively the company without making an arrangement to pay these people their monies because you believe that the court must do what you say even if the people put out their money and executed their contractual obligation, and even if it was under a different administration? What kind of banditry is that? What kind of criminal behavior is that? What kind of gangsterism is that? What kind of mafia criminalistic and barbaric Neanderthal caveman conduct is that? What kind of savagery is that, Rowley? And these other ministers of government sit there and watch the kind of advantage taken of these people, and you public servants don't understand that you cannot and must not take any chances with a fellow like that and a group like that to be in government. 2025 will come, and I will be around. I will be around East West Corridor. And I trust that Gary Griffith might be the person to hopefully to contest the Diego Martin Wasa seat. Get rid of this man with a clean sweep. The PNM is so toxic. It's so inimical to the interests of Trinidad and Tobago. It's so myopic and blind, and wearing, of course, if they have sight at all, blinders. And the only reason why they conduct themselves that way is because Rowley and them make them believe that somehow they will always be in government, administering pain, ache, and agony. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Welcome, Lennox. Good night. You hear me loud and clear?
Yes, loud and clear, my friend. Loud and clear.
Right, so you're talking about the criminals and them that infested the PNM. Even the banks and all, Lennox, taking advantage and as I said, that criminals. Look right now in Scotia Bank in Point Fortin. I don't know why these people and them still had this branch functioning in Point Fortin. You go in there to do any kind of business, they're telling you either have to go to Paria or go San Fernando. All them people and them doing is just paying two people to just talk with you. But them don't do no kind of money transaction and over the counter. So I turn on and I tell these people and them, But all the wasting time here. If every time somebody come to do something, all they tell them we go Sepaya, go Sando, well, all close on this branch. Well, Lennox, they ain't take me and you know what I do? I close off my account with them. Because they're shippiness.
That's right.
And here's right. Well, I don't know if you know about this one now. This is our next way, the bank cutting retail right now. You have $100 in silver, it's in 25 cents. You go in the bank to change it. You don't have the bank gain back $90.
You have to pay them to change it.
You have to pay them to change it.
I'm not surprised, but that's a new one for me.
I tell you about a partner of mine, I had a partner of mine shoveling my car some days and he tell me, boy, you know, Lord, I'm trying to get this bob change in the bank. And when you do go now, that is your revelation he gave me. Say he change $100 and they give back 90. And I have a set of bobs and silvers and I am all saving too, but I'm waiting for them, you know. I'm waiting for them. Because I shoppiness, because in the early days when COVID was around, Kamala tell you all you go to the banks and talk to these people and them. How come the Prime Minister Barbados could do that for their people? Rowley and them don't care about people at Trinidad and Tobago and Trinidadians, the people on the live who listening, who still supporting PNM. That evilness. PNM is evil. There's no question about that. How people could still support it. In fact, people who supporting the PNM, they're brain dead. That's the only way I can put it. They're brain dead. Them just putting my party, and they ain't doing nothing for them. I seen some fellas in Point and all too pushing trolley and having a PNM flag, but they're selling bottle and water and juice and things I decided, but they're supporting PNM. You understand? Something wrong with these people and them. These people and them have a mental disorder when they're supporting the PNM. And right now they have me down as enemy number one, but I stand in my gun, Lennox.
That's right.
I stand in my gun with these people and them because I know what they give. At one point in time, I used to support the PNM, but that time I didn't used to pay much attention to politics. But when I understand what politics govern everything, where our livelihood is concerned, I make a conscious decision. I had to change my mindset. I had to change my focus because these people and them is pure evil. They're evil.
So right.
And I know one day Kamala will be Prime Minister of this country, and trust me, if the time come when they have to build special jail, special cell for Rowley and them, I want to be a part of building them jail and them. Locked on and listening.
And I'm sure, like me, you will offer your labor for free. You'll offer your labor for free, like what I would do. Of course, I want to tell people that my 1,000-page, of course, initiative for anti-crime, focusing on places like Laventille and hotspots along the East-West Corridor, that I presented, of course, in 2009, thereabout, for Patrick Manning when his National Security Minister, Martin Joseph, was there. And of course, I was invited to address the National Security Council, and we did reach a pretty good way in terms of Donna Cox and I was supposed to identify an area for a special, should I say, physical infrastructure, physical facility to house a particular initiative that I had built into my presentation, that they were taken on board, funding and everything else. And then, of course, and then Manning come and lost the elections. So that had to stay some time. And then, of course, you had the partnership, but I didn't bother to pursue it because there was a certain development taking place. People were now juggling and juxtaposing to claim the initiative that I presented at the invitation of the then Minister of National Security to the National Security Council. Yes, Hines, I addressed the National Security Council before you could. So you don't have an edge on me. I also, even though it was temporary, but I was also a parliamentarian as well. So you have no edge on me. And therefore, I'm telling you that you are boo. You are a infantile and still a neophyte in terms of the politics and in terms of delivery. You are simply obnoxious and evil and unfit to be in public office with your vitriolic and your corrosive, excoriating selection of verbal utterances. Yes. Excoriating. Painful to the ears. And your looks. And you continue, of course, to always win when you create an opportunity to play bite to bite with an alligator. You're always winning. I don't know why. Or should I not accept the obvious? Your mouth longer than all of them. Let's go, of course, to what? Tobago. As I said, if you have children, there's a little 2 pieces of obscenity there, but I thought I should leave it in so the people will appreciate how Tobago hate Rowley and them, and why we must tolerate them. Why must we tolerate them?
Somebody struck a fucking SWAT system in Crown Point. And listen to who they're supposed to listen to. And now we end up in shit. Watch. Line up the scratch, line up the thing with water, and we don't know where the fuck the plug is. And we are no factor. All the factor fucking shut down. And this is what has happened when people don't want to listen to people. Some engineers and some bright people construct a fucking SWAT system in Crown Point. And listen to who they're supposed to listen to. And now we end up in shit. Watch. Line up the scratch, line up the thing with water, and we don't know where the fuck the plug is. And we are no factor. All the factor fucking shut down. And where Marvin? Where is Marvelous Marva? Let she come and fucking deal with this. Let she come and deal with this. And they say we don't want to work. And they say we are waste of time. Where them? $200 million fucking dollars in shit.
Yeah, people are angry. People are angry, people. That is Tobago, Crown Point, where the airport is. I'm just going to play it one more time because I know that the obscenity may be offensive to some, but I think it's important, of course. I remember one time in 300 young people, the youngest may be 15 and the oldest may be about 17 or 19 at our training program in Fernandez compound. I remember very distinctly that we would try everything for them. So one of the initiatives that we would have taken there, because no other school could have done it, that kind of youth, because your qualification to get into school had to be either you are engaged or have the potential to engage in crime and criminal behavior. That is the criteria. And we were able, of course, to be extremely successful. It's 300 of them at a time we're talking about. Yeah, 300. And we would send, of course, scholarship opportunity for the village councils, the NGOs and leaders and shakers and movers, so that they will recommend the people and we give them a scholarship as well, so they don't have to pay the fees. And that is how we went about making sure we were able to target those who were vulnerable. Let's go back to the lines. Let's go back to the line. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Lennox.
Night to you.
You see what you calling about the banks there, sorry?
Yeah.
I have a problem with that, Because when this man did take up the tenureship as the Minister of Finance, the first thing he said when the PNM take power, he was going to consult with the banks about all these charges, the charging the people and them. But I don't know where he mouth gone from then to now 6 years ago. Like they put they put scotch tape on him out for you know to talk about that. Right? You see this PNM, they don't care about the poor. Right? They don't care about poor people on the face. Just imagine the man carry $100 in loose change and he give back $90.
Boy.
All that is part and parcel at the end of the year financial report at the billions that we receiving, you know.
Yeah.
Before that, bank used to make a few $100 million. Now, every one of them $1 billion plus after a year tax increase. That is what they get in $1 billion. How they getting that? All these hidden charges and fees are charging the public. If you minus that, they would go down to less than $1 billion. But the PNM and this government facilitating the robbery of the people there. It has two types of bandits, you know. The one who was holding up with gun and the one with jacket and tie. And the banks is one of the biggest bandits outside there. And nobody escapes, you know, because everybody had a bank account with them. So every man jack getting robbed. You understand? The robbing, you can't put a dollar in a savings account. When they go back for it, you owe in their money. You owe in the bank money if you put money in the bank and it's a savings account and you in transact nothing over a period of time, you owe in the people on their money.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of Mickey Mouse country this is, you know. And they have the high road to run as the one because the Minister of Finance aimed to give a rat tail about nobody else other than himself and his party. When the people like it, so all of these things is part of the quagmire of stupidity and governance we facing in this country. That's why the poor will always get poorer. Have a good day, Lennox.
Yes, indeed. Well, of course, the consequence of not just mediocres, but charlatans and criminals that you put in high office, and we, you, and I, are responsible to remedy, to salvage what is left of Trinidad and Tobago by relegating them to the dustbin of political history in this country. And of course, making certain that they pay the price, criminal justice system wise and the civil justice system wise. Wives of ministers cannot suddenly be as voluptuous and part of the 1% as created by Rowley. Is a syndicate and I will consider to be a syndrome. That is a public health hazard. The Rowley and his administration are public health hazard in more ways than one. But as I said, for those of you who have children watching, just one more time I'll play this video. But I thought it was important to demonstrate how the people in Tobago, the anathema, the hatred for Rowley, why the people in Trinidad, particularly in Diego Martin West, must countenance or tolerate that, having regard to all of the evil that is clearly unfolding, and he living like a parasite off of all of us, and wanting, of course, to generate this coup, this auto coup, to position people who are total mediocres that will eventually destroy Trinidad and Tobago because it's not sustainable. And then all of us will now have to grovel and like crab in a barrel, looking for it when we have an opportunity now to be preemptive and to be in a state of foresight, having regard, of course, to our experience, which, of course, is the best teacher. Can't want anything better than experience. Let's hear once again what the Wasa workers in Tobago is saying about Rowley and let him eat his heart out.
This is what has happened when people don't want to listen to people. Some engineers and some right people construct.
Let's go straight to the line. Pleasant good night. Pleasant good night.
Lennox, let's not go night again. I don't remember what it is I want us to share with you tonight.
Go ahead.
Here's what's going on. Recently, Marcy saying that they make so much and millions of dollars in profit. Probably about 4 or 5 days ago. Right? I have a cousin work for these people and over 10 years. They send them home. And then he turn around and tell me there are more people again to send home.
Yeah.
If these people are making so much profit, how the hell they selling home people in Ox? But what I really want to get at is this. This evil hate group called the PNM making a signing a set of deal with China, having Chinese business coming to Trinidad, Chinese this, Chinese that. If all is so care about the people, why will you, the people who involved in crime, why you ain't set up some program for them to go to China and learn what they are doing across and then come back with the training and develop Trinidad and Tobago? But these Chinese and them coming here, getting our wealth, getting benefits, and the youths and them killing themselves on a daily basis. Why they ain't organize scholarship 2,000, 3,000 African youths to go China and experience their education system? They ain't gonna do that because a bunch of haters, a bunch of Hitler by copy. Them is carbon copy of Hitler and Pharaoh and all these evildoers that once walked the face of the earth. PNM, let me tell you something. The PNM government and the PNM supporters, every beginning have an end. Locked on and listening.
Yeah, you're so right, my friend. And of course, don't forget, people, that the Wasa workers in Tobago is complaining that there is one vacuum vehicle. Look at it in the back of me there. Let me just shift a little bit so you can see it. Yes, that vacuum. One, and it break down. Thus their further frustration, and it appears that they are constructing an argument to say that the Wasa workers are lazy and that they are incompetent, but they do not have the relevant equipment to treat with a matter like that I'm sure would be affecting, of course, the entire airport and environs area. Crown Point, well, not Crown Point, of course there's a Crown Point, but of course you have the A&I Robinson Airport, and therefore the businesses, and that is a major, of course, tourism hub and a must-see part of Tobago, because the sea and the beaches around that area is beautiful and very pleasant and warm and calm and aesthetically pleasing and relaxing. And here it is, you come up with that stench and that ugliness, and that is, of course, liquid feces on the road. So you understand why the Tobagonian Wasa workers hate Rowley and they ask as grass to get back Tobago east and west. These still neophytes and total dunderheads, whether it be Shanfa Kojo or the other one in the office of the Prime Minister, they hide behind there and cannot represent Tobago in whatever way. Under normal circumstance, not them, but could represent Tobago. Tobago has much, much better talent than that. In fact, they don't even have. What talent does Shanfa Kojo have, or the other one? Merely, of course, to talk hogwash about what is not the reality in Tobago, such as when shelves were emptying, they were saying that they are full, of course, of stocks. The groceries are filled, but boats were not going to Tobago because Rowley sent back the Galicia, and for months the people were without that service to get goods from Trinidad. But they were saying, the representative was saying, everything is honky-dory. That is betrayal. And that too will be a manifestation in 2025 if they believe that they will not be part and parcel of the relegating to the dustbin of political history in this country of the PNM. As I said, Diego Martin West, you have a date with destiny to get rid, to jettison, to expel, to get rid of, and to annihilate politically, of course, that albatross called Rowley, who has for too long oppressed you down in Diego Martin West and in the country as a whole.
A fucking SWAT system in Crown Point. And listen to who they're supposed to listen to. And now we end up in shit. Watch. Line up the scratch, line up the thing with water, and we don't know where the fuck the plug is. And we are no factor. All the factor fucking shut down. And? Where Marvin? Where is Marvelous Marva? Let's come and fucking deal with this. Let's come and deal with this. And they say we don't want to work. And they say we are waste of time. Where are them? $200 million fucking dollars in shit.
Yes, people, that is the extent of the pain, the agony, the irascibility, and the apoplectic nature of citizens, workers across the board against this Rowley administration. Yet still they come to Parliament and in their various cocoon in PNM environment and try, of course, to give each other some kind of comfort for the pain that they are, of course, exhibiting on the general population. But they will go to their meetings and wallow in their illusions. Whilst the whole country is on fire, a conflagration, as they lit these fires of decadence and poverty and lack of employment and violence and criminal behavior and home invasions and carjacking and hijacking and, of course, housebreaking and robberies that has become the order of the day, quite apart from murders after murder after murder after murder. People, it is certainly a treacherous time in Trinidad and Tobago, but we must plug along. We must insist that, as the pragmatists will do and as the existentialists will say, that listen, we are human beings and we are the ones to carve our destiny, and our destiny cannot be what Rowley and they have carved for us, and we must now resist and we must now tell them where to get off at the appropriate time. 2025 must come, if not before. And if 2025 comes and they do not do like they did for the local government, all we have to do is to consult the Privy Council. That's all. Or the Americans, or the British, or our neighbors. Because Rowley is the kind of fella, all the talk you talking, he afraid of jail. Afraid of jail. Afraid of jail. He afraid blue lights. All the blue lights he talking, he's hollow. Because he's a criminal and he engages, of course, in brinksmanship, takes things to the edge and take it as far as you can, and as he orchestrates criminal behavior as a kind of exercise in architecture. That is what he does. So don't bother with the deflection recently publicized in Anand Ramlogan and Ramdi. They can take care of themselves. My common sense tells me that is stupidness But it is that because they would try to, certainly they believe in their shenanigans, certainly they believe in their attempt to salvage some kind of criminal advantage as far as the collapse of that matter. And certainly, I doubt they believe that the courts will forgive them for orchestrating, as Al-Rari and Rowley and his cabinet did, set up Anand Ramlogan and Ramdeen through, of course, paying Vincent Nelson $10,000, sorry, $10 million, and playing the want to get back now that he got it through some false, you take we money, give it to the man, and somehow in the field that Vincent Nelson lost his legal ability, or he wouldn't get the appropriate legal briefing, Rowley and them ass is grass. That's all I could say. It is the most asinine and the most brutal abuse of public funds that one can think of. You lost the case. You now have to be held accountable. And instead of doing that, like the little child, you keep, of course, pressing and pressing until, of course, the whole damn pot or cup of boiling water falls upon them. Jail for the tail. They could jump high, they could jump low. People, we have come to the end, of course, and don't forget tomorrow morning we are on again. I don't think Dr. Khaled would be with me. There is a transportation issue that I'm supposed to provide that I've not been able to because of some transportation issues that I have. But of course, you will see me for sure tomorrow morning from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, 8 to 9. Or 8 to 10, yes. And of course, we will be with you on that occasion as well. Maybe we could say we could end as we started.
Rowley, you dog! Low high the crime rate is in the country now, boy. Rowley, you dog! Low high the crime rate is in the country now, boy. Forest, come down, Imboot, come down, UNC, in tongue. I don't want to leave you on top the horse, I need you to come down here for me now. You're claiming PNM them is boss, but look how high the crime rate is now. PNM feel the bright, they got win election tonight. Come down from there, Rowley, come down from there, Rowley. Make me choke with that vibe, Champa, coach you them, they not nice. Come down from there, Rowley, come down from there. I just want to warn you, before the mixing would concern you. They went like keto and one foot.
Yes, people, don't forget, share. Like, those of you on YouTube, please, we need to have you. Like, we need to have you, of course, press. We need to have you share, and we need to have more and more and more. Yes, so before you leave, just do what is required so that the next phase of our efforts to reach leaders of the world, TikTok and all of the other platforms notwithstanding, that is where we are going. We need to expose this government to the optimum. To the optimum, people. We have no choice. Rowley, you really can be considered a dog. And look how high the crime is.
Rowley, you dog! Low high the crime rate is in the country now, boy. Rowley, you dog! Low high the crime rate is in the country now, boy. Rowley, you dog! Low high the crime rate is in the country now, boy. Forest, come down, Imboot, come down, UNC, in tongue. I don't want to leave you on top the horse, I need you to come down here for me now. You're claiming PNM them is boss, but look how high the crime rate is now. PNM feel the bright, they got win election tonight. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there, Rowley. Make me jump with that vibe. Champa, go to them, they not nice. Come down from there, Rowley. Come down from there. I just want to warn you before the mixing would concern you. They went like keto and walk voodoo for the people and them to vote you. On the IG post, you look nice. 1 million followers, 1 million likes. In the grocery, the food price high. Give we 2% and see we reply. That man can mama guy. You feel it too bright. Yeah, we need election tonight. Come down from there, Rowley.
Mr. Kawe, why should everybody support you as the next political leader of the PNM and by extension the next Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago?
Hold
on, boss, hold on. You could talk English?
Yes. Everything is being camera. The PM is not doing nothing for this country. All the schools not completed. Look at the potholes. Look at crime situation. Vote for me, Kawe, for a better country.
This is a song about a man named Kawe from way down in South. This fella called Kawe from way down in South. Kawe is a fella the people talking about. Now he joined the PNM, they love him all the way. But all them in the PNM support him, Kawe. Rowley for Kawe, Imran for Kawe, Struck for Kawe, Fire for Kawe. Listen what I say, the whole of the PNM for Kawe, for Kawe, for Kawe. Yes, for Kawe. Oh, yo, yo, yo. Hey. Hey, yo. Kawe is the real man. Kawe have a plan with foresight and meditation to uplift the nation. Everybody calling him by name, and all them in the PNM riding him for fame. Camille for Kawe, Paula for Kawe, Shafa for Kawe, Mali for Kawe. Listen what I say, the whole PNM women league for Kawe, for Kawe, for Kawe. Yes, for Kawe. Oh, yo, yo, yo. Hey. People up in the beat, all them love Kawe bad. They wouldn't want him in water and run him out of the yard. People up in Lavanti, they want a new MP, and Kawe's the man, nobody better than he. Betrayal for Kawe, Franklin for Kawe, Dylan for Kawe, Coffee for Kawe. Listen what I say, PNM executive for Kawe, for Kawe, for Kawe. Yes, for Kawe. Oh.
If you happen to see and know when politics going wrong, with facts and figures prepared to show, it's better to bite your tongue. To them political boss, who the people trust and get double cross, you're an obstacle to be removed at any cost. Oh, a social conscience is really very dangerous to your health. The awesome strength of the powers that be most certainly will be felt. To tell them that their priorities and performances on the par. It's poetic to hear them describe to you who you are. First of all, you're a megalomaniac, a power seeker, a crazy or a crack, troublemaker. And if you tell them that the economy is no longer in full bloom, then you become a prophet of doom and gloom.
Now if all you agree with me in this tune, I want all you to fill up the comments with flames and send this tune viral for me please. I's a madman. So we vote and we vote and we vote and still back to square one. Look at people still suffering in Vietnam and John. We lose faith in the leader, and I'm not calling no names. We fed up of the lies and the dirty games. So it's right now we have a vote no confidence. Cause right now in the country they're doing real nonsense. Now the majority of you decide to go and pick up guns like you're plain blind and you're deaf and dumb. Like you forget your people once you in power
and you're moving evil. You had the whole place sour.
Daddy, could you tell me what's the qualification that I must have to be a politician? When I grow up, you must swear on Bible and take false oath. You must use big words to get votes. You must lie and watch me straight in the eye. Oh son, that's the qualification of a politician. You must shun people when election done. Well son, that's the qualification of a politician.
In Watson Duke's case, evidence has been advanced and he has been charged. And that alone disqualifies him from getting a vote in Tobago as a person who wants to represent you. Our opponent wants to run for a seat under a police charge for rape, for rape, for rape.
Dr. Rowley said come Thursday he will be speaking in Mason Hall and releasing a tape in which the opposition UNC conspired against him in 2015.
One-third of the murders in recent times are domestic violence or domestic issues. And then that follow the Prime Minister to do something about crime. I'm not in your bedroom, I'm not in your choice of men. I'm children from one of our schools in the West, young girls, behaving in a manner like hyenas in the African jungle.
And what about the right and responsibility of parents who breed monsters at home and send these monsters to teach us?
But I want to tell Mr. Sutton, that is none of your goddamn business. Because as long as Sharon is happy with how much I have outside and how much I have inside, Rowley is happy with that.
you